Tales from a Seven-City Empire. The Book of Gimmel. Volume 1. Welcome. These tales of horror are brought to you by Jackie Gardis Productions. Put more magic into your life. Thank you, and welcome to the world of the Seven-City Empire. I must warn you. These stories are more than just stories, they are a doorway into another realm, a world that is locked deep within the darker side of your imagination. If you find that your surroundings are changing, that is, the spirits of these tales have awakened, and they are becoming more familiar with your environment, then you may want to consider stopping, calling a friend, and quickly inviting them over to share these stories, because one thing is for sure, you may not want to find yourself alone. Doors will open. Welcome to Tales from a Seven-City Empire. Beware, we have warned you. Now, on to our tales.
The fourth. Guardians of the Rare Death.
Imperial City, Thames Crossings. Queen's Summoning, Royal Pyramid Palace. General of the Fifth Order, Gemma Antonia Clark. Journal of the Red Imperium Master. Royal Esoteric Defense. There's another one, she says, her voice always harsh when it came to things that seemed out of her immediate control, her eyes moving with the words as they hovered in the air, displaying details, and other things she did not want to hear. Images flashed upon her transparent screens, their forms floating like the mist, circling her as she sat at her throne in scorn. I can't tell you how much this disturbs me, my little one. That damn forest has always been a nuisance. Why can't it just remain dead like everything else we have buried in our past? Isn't having us locked up in these cities enough of a prison? Our people need a world, not scraps. And look at these reports, they are becoming harder to hide. Even the royal media is starting to ask questions, and worse, people have been answering them. My subjects are not pleased, and that's because they have been experiencing dangers more than ordinary on the edge of our fair cities. This problem must not be allowed to continue, and for this delicate task, I must call forth for your services once more. Her voice is always calm, self-composed and soft, but I could feel that she was bothered to see so many eyewitnesses, so many records of evil. Letters from investigators and their statements had confirmed that the darkness in the forest was returning. She bit her lip intently as she continued to read, but in the end, it seemed almost too much for the Queen. Our leader was concerned. She turned to me, and with these words, my journey began. I need you again, and your mystic ways that no one can match in this kingdom. I answer with a smile, and that is all I need to give. She knows how I operate, and what I have to do. And with that understanding, she continues to give her orders. Once again, our Imperium is at risk from the evil that dwells within that forest, and I am at a loss for words as to the solution, but like always, I know that you will find one for me. I need you, and your agency to investigate, and if possible, stop the forest from destroying our delicate empire. My dear little Gemma, I am deeply sorrowed that I must depend on you so much, but we know that you have never been little, or delicate. You are a child of the black arts blessed to use them for good intentions, but a child like you shouldn't be cursed to live with such a demon. But, I am a demon, I respond with a smirk. And I am a child as well, but there is no place in my existence for childhood, like my other comrades who are such as I. We must always be in the service of the divine to keep our souls pure. And losing that is something that I cannot afford. You, my sister, above all know that delicately pernicious detail. She turns to me, a reaction from my words, but she is desperate with eyes that can only ask for help. It is a funny thing, I am royalty, but feel no kinship to them. My mother and father thought that I would be a blessing to the kingdom, their legacy, but instead, they had created a monster, born from their genetics. In mystic incantations and darker magic that has long been forgotten before the war, they brought me into this world. I, the spirit, who had been chosen to enter this body. The little girl that had her life saved by a demon, now turned into an angel of light. My own past was a secret that our family held in its deepest nightmare. The royal blood of this young child burned with unknown magic and power, only to be used for the good of all in our kingdom, but its curse left a mark. Now at the age of 13, I am the one thing that Our Majesty cherishes when it comes to her darkest and deepest of fears. Sent on secret imperial missions since the age of 5, I have become the sword sent by Our Majesty to rid our kingdom of demonic incursions. And now, once more, I must rise again to the call of my sister, the Queen. Gemma, you, and your esoteric team, will be going deep into the imperial ghettos that reside on the edge of our city kingdoms. I want you to first look into the issues here in Thames Crossings, within the 3rd tier, near Morgana Street in the New Brixton City sector. I want you to touch that area with your mind to see what it has to tell us. We need to know why, after so long, it has awakened to encroach upon us again. I am sorry to bring you out of your holiday, but as you know, I can trust no one with this information. But if I could send someone else, I surely would. I don't favor having my sister disturbed by trivial matters, but if it isn't. She looks at me, waiting for a response, knowing that my interests have been intrigued. I then say, I understand, only that which walks in the shadows can understand its hidden evil, for in my black heart, I am already dead. My words leave my sibling quiet. She never did get used to my darker wit, but in silent gesture, she replies. Not yet, but are you so much in a hurry to find it? I answer with silence, and she answers again with words. I am sorry, but I will never completely understand your pain. Moving closer, I reach out, holding her hand, and with veneration held in my dark heart, I speak. Dear Alexiana, have no worry in this new predicament. You will rule as our queen, and I will be like it is always, behind the imperial curtain, saving the kingdom from the threats of its own nightmares. Our fair citizens are living in a dream world that is protected by the very evil that they are afraid of, that is, those individuals that are like me, and my fellow comrades. We keep the kingdom boring, so that people can go to their jobs, homes, and lives without remembering that the forest is there, always waiting to destroy them. In their eyes, they must always think that we have won the war, and that the evil has been stopped, but we know the truth, this is only the beginning. With nothing more to say, I smile, then curtsy, turning to depart, wishing my sister, and queen, a fair fondue. For now it is time to set upon my journey to meet my team to prepare for our mission, a mission that I am quite sure that will bring us face to face before the source of humanity's darkest of evils. Addendum to Secret Royal Report, the Excalibur Grail. Subject, Children of the Shadowed Empire. Dr. Gemma Antonia Clark, General of the Fifth Order. Red R. Primary Field Supervisor. The Department of Royal Esoteric Defense Research. Red R. Red F. Command, Attaché Special Assignments. They move in quiet natures, and secret shadows. I call them my friends, and at times before our alliance, an enemy. Children of the Cursed Cross, they would call us, too young to control the power that was created within them. But in truthfulness, they feared us, deciding our fate from the day of birth, a quick execution, for they had deemed us a disease. Labeled as a magical risk, our esoteric abilities were too powerful to be manifested by those so young. Through their eyes, we were already dead. For the truth be known, we became the silent miracle in an experiment that had failed. The dark magic that was released had been channeled through our bodies like a circuit, bonding us to that energy forever. But with great power, came the blessing of divine wisdom, rising as a beacon for the light of our kingdom. In secrecy, the royal mission was to unlock the mind, creating a psychic doorway that would build a link to hidden incantations and knowledge. They wanted to create an individual that would be able to access the lost records of the Unity Gates. If we could acquire this information, then we would be able to transport ourselves beyond the locked coordinates of the 7 cities. For in truth, no one knew how they worked, only the vanished ancient ones known as the tribe of Tefrith. The arrogance of our greatest minds had created their keys, but the gates were locked too tight, and they were left with us, side effects, door prize rejects, but yet still royal in blood. The fools only succeeded in creating ripples in the magical fibers of our existence, and only caused more trouble. Puberty was the normal age for magic to manifest itself within an individual, and only with practice and help in the elite esoteric schools. But that had changed, the balance was destroyed, and now hell had spawned demons into our midst, those born with their powers too early, and too strong. Me and my comrades had become a new darkness to fear and hate. We became their scapegoat, out of the fear of the forest. Persecution was our only choice, but the curse of their misdeeds was not over. They had unlocked many portals within the esoteric teachings, letting more than just my comrades and I to gain a foothold. The danger had grown beyond the confines of the lab. The experiment became our Tower of Giza, polluting the kingdom in ways yet still not understood. In random locations, children at an unusual age were exhibiting esoteric abilities that ranged from all sorts of magic. Some of them were welcomed into the ranks of the newly formed Project Resurrection, a royal black operation created deep within the Royal Esoteric Defense Force. We, that is, my kind, eat ants. A new race of esoteric mutations had become a threat, and in all rights, we were without rights and easily condemned to death, but Her Majesty wanted something different. Instead of death, we tracked the others of our kind, and gave them a choice to serve their kingdom. The ones that were still human always said yes. Those who were too demonic and possessed by a darker presence, had to be put to rest, or IRR, involuntary required retirement as stated under imperial law. But God has a strange way of turning a curse into a blessing, especially when it comes to those things that you learn to hate and fear. Addendum to Secret Royal Report, Secret Scrolls of the Unity Gates. Subject, the Tribe of Tefrith. Dr. Gemma Antonia Clark, General of the Fifth Order. Red Imperium Master Historical Investigation. Department of Royal Esoteric Defense Archives. Red A. The tribe of Tefrith was the last of the ancients to hold the knowledge of the Unity Gates, and thus kept their word as warriors of the light. They had safeguarded their secrets well, and those kept by the various elder esoteric circles that had departed from this realm. For the old ones had decided to leave this world at the coming of the new age, and thus, the tribe of Tefrith was left to reside over humanity. Like the elders of magic, they alone held the power to transcend the gates, and move between realities. They would explore the vast regions of consciousness to someday come back, and bring salvation to the last 7 cities of mankind. But the others never returned, and their legacy eventually fell into memory, until only the tribe of Tefrith remained. 3,000 years ago, they were one of the strongest groups in the Golden Circle. They alone had the ability to balance the kingdom under the guidance of Queen Gazriel. The Unity Gates were guarded, and deemed as a requiem to humanity's perseverance. But those days have withered, and time has a way of changing the hearts of the people. Colonization beyond the 7 cities had become a heated topic, and civil war was upon the horizon. Many had decided to risk the barriers of the forest, and venture outside of the city-protected walls, eventually creating the 3rd tier. As time progressed, many colonies were established as residents attempted the dangerous task of settling this destructive territory. People who left the cities in search of a life outside of the protected walls, found themselves at odds with the mysteries of the graveyard, a dark wasteland just before you hit the boundaries of the forest. For the Unity Gates found limitation, and could provide no protection in these newly unexplored areas. Never did so many die in horrible deaths, both inside of the cities, due to civil unrest, and outside of the city walls in the newly formed, but unprotected 3rd tier. Our empire was on the verge of falling into extinction again, but in the midst of our greatest battle, when all members of the Golden Circle had become swallowed into the glamour of hate and beguile, the last remaining members of the tribe of Tefrith sacrificed themselves to bring order back to the kingdom. But with their deaths, we lost the secrets to the Unity Gates forever. But their legacy had succeeded. They had extended their divine power into mercy, allowing the esoteric shields of the gates to grow within each city to extend outwards into the 3rd tier, giving greater protection to the poor. For the most part, the 3rd tier was now able to be somewhat habitable, and the migration wars after many years, came to its final end. But irony has a way of creeping into the most serious of situations. The many scrolls left by the tribe of Tefrith contained all of the magic that our empire needed to survive and multiply, but the words gave forth nothing as they were written in an ancient tongue. The answer we had been seeking was discovered in old literature unknown to this day, buried in graves long forgotten. So the Age of Light is drawn to its coffin, the lid left slightly open, but not closed, giving way to a new era to take a foothold onto the empire. The Age of New Alchemy, the imperial ideology of today. Under this new dogma, magic is controlled by the elite, and for the poor, or pioneers that live on the city edges, they can either benefit from its use, or become its victim. My sister has yet to deal with this problem, being that it stems from the decadence of our royal blood. Once a noble empire, it has become addicted to pride and prestige, corrupting all in its wake. We can only pray that by keeping the hidden evil at bay, that it will enact a positive change for the kingdom. But if people knew of the dangers lurking from the forest, the empire would run the risk of a second breakdown in our society, something my sister, the Queen, does not desire. No one wants another migration war, and thus the kingdom needs to know that it is safe and secure, and that the days of night are gone forever. But that is where we come in, me and my comrades, the Imperial Knights of Solomon. Our organization is secret, and for the most part, illegal. All agents under my command are children with strong esoteric knowledge. They have volunteered their lives for the kingdom. We are a combination of royalty, sirs, and pioneers, the poor, the seeds of the greatest magical minds. Our psychic abilities made us deadly, for we held incredible power to destroy, or to heal an empire. But the secret of true intentions lay in the desperations of the Golden Circle. We had first thought that the contamination of the experiment caused a wave of new esoteric mutations throughout the empire, but the true facts eventually revealed themselves. The department scientists in the Red F had used subjects outside of the original experiment. Me and the 11 others in the first test group were not the only seeds being planted by those in charge. The royal bloodlines, the DNA of every great mystic lord, had been infused and spread throughout the empire. Their hands stretched out into the naked population, creating a new royal lineage as well as a new race of beings born forever children. Most of the experimental subjects turned into demonic offspring, unleashing a new terror onto our unsuspecting citizens. There were many deaths, and cover-ups administered by the Red F, but they didn't care. In the end the testing was a failure, but it did produce something that they could work with. Us. We were few, a handful of survivors, but our dark natures left us as outcasts throughout the royal houses and the empire. Draped in old magic, our lives stretched to the past, the demon children cursed with black magic. We grew to become the fear that would promote their salvation. So they gathered all of us to become agents in the Royal Esoteric Defense Force, the Red F. Our job in the Empire has always been simple, killing always is, and it has always been fun: destroy the evil, at any costs. N. Royal Report. Dr. Gemma Antonia Clark, General of the Fifth Order. Red Imperium Master Historical Investigation. Department of Royal Esoteric Defense Archives. Red Day.
The 5th. Rise of the Reaper Zones.
City Kingdom Time, 7:53 TCTTG, Thames Crossing, Twilight Time. Alert, Gavel's Warning. The Gavel's Warning, can you hear the night coming? The sound of large sirens ring in the distance, shaking the very air that carries it. Sounds of a gavel-ring warning, a message to all: the sun is about to set, for the night is coming into our midst. Be forewarned, the steps of demons. We must run to our homes to hide before the darkness. Silent are the hands of the veiled forest, here to take us into the tomb. Excerpt taken from Into Darkness Unite. Royal poem presented by Minister Karsaj in Tusk, at the 1010th Rejuvenation Ceremony. I have never been an easy candidate for patience when it came to the sunset. I knew that it meant the coming of a battle. For as the last rays bent themselves into the shadowy corners of the horizon, I could feel a rush of energy coming from the forest in the distance. Movement again was seen upon its boundaries as evil prepared itself for another evening to walk among the city streets. "I see something," says one of the field investigators, scanning the area, his hands trembling. Slowly, a mist begins to glide across the ground, its mysterious form consuming the fields of the graveyard. The darkened presence of evil knows that we are here, and wants to say hello. "Ah! The chase is on," says a voice behind me, hidden within the air. Then in a flash of smoke, its form appears before me. Well, it sure didn't take long. "No, true evil never does," I respond, turning to see a small boy standing next to me. Timothy Graven, or Tim, firstborn to the great house of Shemtuk. His abilities find specialty in esoteric visualization and distant watching. He is the eyes that see all, and he has become a great value, given that he is only 12, with a bit of a sweet tooth. At our feet, wrappers move in the wind, causing him to hastily use gusts of air to redirect them into his pocket. "It's bad karma to litter, want some," Timothy says, pulling out a peanut sweet stick, one of his favorite. "I have plenty, as you know." "No thank you, but you can tell me, what do you see out there with your psychic eye?" I calmly say to him as the mist continues to move closer. "Death," Timothy answers, and by the look on his face, he doesn't need to say any more. My scans, like his, prove only one thing: it is prepared to fight, something that is always expected. I will try to keep my mental probes stable, and send the thought copies as quickly as I can, but I won't dare send myself too deep into that nest, or my mind will become snared. Timothy ends his conversation, adjusting his aura, this time getting a better hold of his thought forms, but his words prove correct as he jumps into midair, floating above our caravan where he quickly descends, taking up point on top of one of the lead transports. "I understand, and don't blame you," I respond telepathically, sending thoughts and orders as well as words of caution. "Just keep yourself on guard until we can set up our perimeter defenses." Something is not the same with this one. The mood is different, but best for sure, ready or not, it looks like that we are about to go to war. And I was right. City Kingdom time, 2:53 TCMNT, Thames Crossing. Morning night time. Within our reservations, we had thought that the evening might hold some secrets to reveal, but it has only been a cat-and-mouse game with many of our forces being sent out on wild goose chases. But one thing is clear, we are being toyed with, and I can feel it. Nothing on the scans, and nothing from our lookout squads. We have seen more action in the past than I can count, but something tells me that it is just warming up for the onslaught. Then, over the intercom, we hear the terror of agony. Screams followed by a voice. "Hurry, hurry, we need backup in Sector 1, Sector 1. Sector 1 report." The field sergeant answers, only to receive static. He turns to me, waiting for the order, and with calm reaction, a natural response for my kind, I give the command. Within moments 3 members from my team find themselves phasing into the middle of a war zone as several troops fall back, trying to regain their positions. Sector 1 is under attack. Mindless creatures of the dead, known as shadow vamps, swarm like locusts, killing and infecting their victims with ease, as gunfire rings out into the night air. Then in a bright pulse of light, a blast of psionic energy pushes them back into the fog banks of the graveyard, their essence quickly dispersing into the night. Eyes look up in astonishment to find 3 children standing between them and the darkness, their cheers reaching up, breaking the silence of the night as they rally behind their saviors. Sarah, Kyla, and Sage take no victory in this attack. They know that the enemy will return, deadlier than ever. It has been a long time since they have seen this type of evil, but they know it quite well. As they send the report to me, I can see in their minds the face of the enemy, an old nemesis, one that we had thought moved on, but things in the Empire are never what they seem. Gemma, this is Dana. I have vamps on this side as well. They are attacking everything in sight, and their numbers are growing. Where the hell did they get all of these infected followers so rapidly? We can barely keep them off of our position. Here I come, Sarah responds, as Sage and Kyla follow, phasing again as they magically transport themselves to the location of the disturbance. But this time the shadow vamps ride upon their steeds of black phantoms, coming in with greater numbers as our forces engage with a vengeance. I arrive to find the carnage waiting for me. Bodies lay upon the field like dead cedar, only to rise again to quickly fortify their ranks. Our troops find it difficult to hold their fear, and it is then that the enemy brings its dark hands as demons protrude from the surrounding mist, carrying howls of bloodthirst. We were at the brink of the attack. They had waited to show their true numbers, and who they were. The shadow vamps only distracted our eyes from their masters. How could this be, this long hidden in the forest, only to come now, ready to kill? From the distance, I could see their vast numbers, holding back, making their victory sweeter. They had made their introduction, an old adversary, one not seen since the migration wars. Needless to say, things still didn't seem correct. Silence only came from the locals as they remained in their homes, hoping to stay protected. The absence of sound seemed almost motionless, but they had every right to be. Death was now breathing down their necks. Not even the esoteric shields covering their homes had the ability to hold back this evil, no matter who they paid to manifest it. This was a concern for me, and for those around us as well, for the surrounding neighborhood was taking a terrible beating. Nothing helped, only our high-energy shields offered some resistance to their carnage. Immediately, I order the troops to surround and guard the shanty homes. We quickly expand our protection around the neighborhood as the vamps began their attack again, but this time, the citizens were safe behind our shields. Now, it is our turn, as I jump into the air, sending out a binding spell, holding the vamps in place. Then, from the moonlit sky, a winged animal descends. It moves towards me with fangs, claws, and cold black eyes, bellowing a howl that shrieks the night. With speed and veracity, the beast decimates the shadow vamps held by my binding spell, their forms vanishing. While the others turn to prepare for more fighting, the nightly creature comes to rest by my side, my winged wolf, a great behemoth, and of course, my best friend. Benderly stood before the demons, her eyes piercing the mist with red vision. Then, without a pause, the she-wolf widens her mouth, casting flames upon several of the enemy, leaving only a whim of their existence. I shrill with delight, a trait held within my darker nature, to experience a victim's defeat. Benderly was more than a spirit guide to me, she was something different, something found deeper in my black soul. Rare it was to manifest the life of another being, even for children with our esoteric abilities, but the manifested winged wolf was here to stay. This large hellhound became my guardian angel, the seventh member of our group, and a very well-educated mascot. Benderly, my winged wolf, knew that we had our night cut out for us, as she and I both jumped into the middle of the battle, driving the vamps back into the graveyard. In the distance, I could see their masters watching as their servants returned, empty, without pride and payment. With the waving of their hands, I see the demons they had called forth waste away into the earth below, as if they never bore existence. Then with a turn of their horses, they vanish into the very mist that had spawned them. With bruises and valor, our troops began to tend to their wounds, weapons still in hand and on alert for another return of the enemy. As the night moved into the late, and then into several hours before the return of the sun, We heard nor saw nothing more of our attackers, but if you thought the night was over, you would be a fool. For deep in the precepts of my trepidation, I could feel that our battle had already begun. City Kingdom Time, 4:53 TCMNT, Thames Crossing. Morning night time. As always, we decided to discuss the situation after all of the data had been compiled. Each child member of my team then went into deep meditation, reviewing over the esoteric nature of the battle. It was all standard procedure as we slowly entered into a group soul state of consciousness. Then, bang, disturbed by the pounding door knock of my assistant, again. But this time, she doesn't wait to enter the room. Remnants of fear are seen upon her aura, as she tries to retain her composure. "Please, you have to come quickly, please. The general needs you immediately." Waving my hand, the young girl stops, and then, with a wave of my other hand, we both teleport to the control room of the transport where General Clark is awaiting my arrival. A shroud of despair lay over the command center, as eyes around the room stare at the monitors in disbelief. Then, in a stillness of time, vibrations become voices in the wind as the psychic images of what has transpired enter into my mind. I can see the homes of the shanty towns, covered in black, and the mist from the graveyard had now covered every facet in the area, taking its victims as empty plots lay where once stood several homes. And all that I could think to myself was, how are they doing this? Where is our protection? But I have not time to discuss these issues, as I consider the welfare of my people. Is everyone secure in their transport? I ask, not patient for a response, but I don't have to wait too long. Gemma, they are all safe and sound, says General Clark, walking up towards me, standing at my side. I made sure to issue a retreat. We've also raised and increased the force of our esoteric shields. We are now waiting to see what happens next, and as to the substance that is covering the homes, we don't know. In fact, our scanners are severely limited, and the psychic probes haven't been able to pick up any of the residents in this area, even the ones that have been placed safely behind our protective barriers. Blind, unopened target, and no life anywhere, I respond, showing frustration. So I guess the question remains then, where did all of the people go? With his attention upon one of the view screens, General Clark turns with a smile, and says, "Well, we might be blind, but we do have other eyes that aren't. I would suggest that we send out some eyes to see what is going on around here." I nod my head, smiling back with compliance as he quickly gives the order. From compartments located on the side of each transport, panels begin to open, dispersing a multitude of drones out into the surrounding area, covering the neighborhood. Within moments, information is relayed to us as images of death display upon the screens. While everyone stands in horror, my team enters the room. Each child is pulled to a different monitor, quietly observing, their senses captivated. Meanwhile, Benderly circles about the room, occasionally seen and not seen, as she moves in and out of reality at her own leisure, like a spirit in flux. She too knows the dangers associated with the shadow vampires. An ancient evil that hasn't been seen since the first days of exploration outside of the protected city walls. Eventually, they vanished from the scene after the third day had been successfully colonized, but now they have returned with their masters, unknown entities that control the vamps. But so many things in the dark walk without names, or faces. Our knowledge of events inside of the Veiled Forest is very limited, except for the brief battles and the rare detailed sighting. All was a mystery to us, but one fact remained, our only true defense. The morning was still far off from our grasp. We had to wait for the arrival of the sun, if we were to survive. "Looks like we better dig in for the next couple of hours," says General Clark to the command staff. I don't know how long until they will decide to charge us again. And as for the residents, I have to guess that they are all missing, most likely possessed, and dangerous. Well, it looks like that I spoke too soon about our victory dance, Timothy sarcastically answers, moving about, his eyes closed in concentration while he meditates upon the situation. I should have known, my senses should have known. This whole night was nothing more than a test of our abilities. That evil forest is getting ready for something big, I can feel it. We can all feel it, Tim, Sarah distinctly says, as she and Kyla, along with the rest of our group, moves inward to discuss what the drones have revealed. Outside, the small silver orbs glide across the surface of the ground. They transmit images upon the monitors, showing the aftermath of our struggle. What in the hell is that black stuff on the homes? Sage asks, his question not without warrant. Like the general pointed out, you can see it on every house in the area. What is that stuff? With all attention drawn, I begin to realize the answer, quickly ordering all personnel to hold their positions, until further notice. I then turn to my comrades, and say, I need everyone here to reach out with their mind until I tell you to stop. Don't worry, I will guide you, but I need everyone to stay focused on their scans, look for echoes of thought. And yes, I said echoes of thought, you know what I mean. Instantly, my message is conveyed, they know exactly what I am looking for as we commence our psychic scans. With swiftness, we extend ourselves into the etheric sheaths around us, feeling everything until a faint echo is heard. I found one, says Sarah. Very small, but I can definitely validate its existence. I found one as well, says Kyla. Better yet, a whole bunch of them. Must be a weak point in their projection field. But where is the nesting point that's generating them? Why can't we locate it? Don't be concerned with that, I say with a direct tone, trying to keep on the task. We are close, but our scans need to be more stable. They are trying to fragment us within their illusion, we mustn't be too random. They are fighting harder to redirect us. Good, we must be close. I think I have found the nesting point of thought, Sage answers. I will hold it, and transfer its coordinates to the rest of you. I see it, answers Timothy, quickly followed by the rest. Good, now let's burst this bubble of illusion. My words bring forth blank expressions upon the faces of the crew members who are new to the scene. My assistant especially, as she tries to follow her duties, making notes of her surroundings. For she too is a novice, and can only look to the situation in confusion. I frighten her, as she finds my eyes glowing black light from the esoteric energy encasing my aura. With calm words, I say, you are confused, and scared. I will not belittle your understanding of the current situation, so I will be frank. We are having trouble repelling the demons. I could explain, but instead, I will show you. With my words dangling in the air, I wave my hand before her eyes, causing her to witness events through my mind as my comrades and I start our incantations. Slowly, we begin to ascend above the ground, glowing in a bright light as those in the room notice our actions. We increase our concentration, while outside, winds begin to blow, showing signs of disturbances. Those, the hidden ones behind the darkness, know that we have discovered their sinister secret, and they are not pleased. The lights within our transport waver, but stay steady with their esoteric protection as those in the command center try to hold their leverage. Fear is set into motion, growing, that is never good. It helps to feed the beast, and makes its appetite ever so much larger. You see, it is all an illusion that they create, Sage says, sending his thoughts to my assistant, his eyes glowing black with intensity. They do this to trick us into letting our guard down. Perfect, isn't it? We would be devoured if we even attempted to walk outside, but best believe me, we are in the middle of a swarm, and they are looking to feast upon our very souls. So let's carefully stay on the tips of our toes, and we'll try to keep those demons hungry tonight. But sir? The assistant answers, confused and afraid. How could they have done something like this? Aren't we protected by the divine light of the Unity Gates? She was definitely new to the Force, but with time, it would seem all too normal. But one thing was true about her claim: the demons had found a foothold, and that greatly concerned me, and the others. Even General Clark seemed worried as he turned to show recognition of the danger, his eyes caught within my vision. How did those bastards get through the protection of the Unity Gate? Don't worry, I say to the assistant, putting my hand upon her shoulder, my energy coursing through her body as she comes out of the trance. She looks up at me with a smile and says, "I am always more calm when I know what I am facing. Please excuse me for my irrational behavior, and thank you." I nod, letting her know that it will be all right, a lie of course, but I couldn't tell her of the true evil that we were now facing. For as the blackness of ooze glistened off of the nearby homes, summing forth the melee, we could see their demonic forms taking shape into something hideous as they lunged at the transports, hoping to enter and consume us. Shockwaves of powerful energy moved throughout the control room as people jumped to their feet, desperation coursing through their fragile natures. They were not prepared for this attack, and neither were we. The enemy had performed a feat of magic that we hadn't seen since the first days of the third-tier settlements. They had broken through our shields, as they attached themselves to the outer bulkheads. Their oily black bodies gradually working their way inward. Quickly, shutdown procedures commenced as the computer secured the interior parts. People caught on the edges of the transport in the outer hulls are seen running for their lives, hoping to be safe behind the protected bulkheads of the lockdown zones. Some make it, many don't. Now, we have possessed crew members moving about the transport. They will try to infect the others if they can. Quarantine has now become a major issue. We were caught, deathly in the middle of a demonic invasion as they gathered within their groups. For we were now surrounded, and trapped behind thick metal doors, deep within the bowels of the transport. A few of us were still alive, together and protected, but for how long? We had been cut off not only from the rest of our team members in the other vehicles, but we were effectively blocked from making any type of emergency call for assistance to Red F Command. We found our options limited, and the morning sun was still far off in the distance while death remained, knocking at our door. This, the darkest of days, was not so bright, and it was becoming darker. "If they get in, it won't be pretty for us," says one of the officers in the room. "We need to get out of here. We are all sitting ducks." "Don't you mean sitting dead ducks?" says another aide, correcting the other, as General Clark casually walks over to me, and whispers, "I can't promise how long those doors will hold, but I can tell you that death is more preferable to what will happen to us if they get in here. If they do go, and they come rushing into the internal parts of this vehicle, then I am going to order a retreat to the Auxiliary Command Center, sealing it up with the emergency bunker shields. With the rest of the staff, we will hope to the divine that we can wait this thing out until sunrise. But I do know this for a fact: people will die, and worse, they will become dangerous. Our very own people will become the enemy." "Many have already become," I answer him, knowing that he is correct. "We need to get our people out of here, beyond the demon's bubble of illusion, outside of this dark storm, but me and my comrades are still searching for its boundaries. Strange that we have not found it. Although, nothing yet, we have decided to increase our mental range, but in all honesty, the date is telling the truth. If it does come to that, then I hope that you will be prepared to stop yourself from becoming one of the possessed." With a glance, General Clark responds. He gently taps his sidearm, and says, We need to come up with another solution before that decision has time to blossom. And I do have some interesting information that may give us an idea of where to go find that solution, a possible blessing. You, and the other members of your team need to review this. Quickly, the general escorts us to one of the monitors, where we can see the problem already, but that's impossible. With great concern and disbelief, General Clark then utters, "We may be looking at the last days of the Empire if those numbers are correct. We require a plan, and now." I pause, considering our path, and with nothing more, I reply. We need to burst their psychic bubble if we are to escape the incantation that manifested it, but in order to do that, we need to find its wall, the ring pass knot, or better yet, the boundaries. We can't focus our magic on breaking out of the bubble, unless we have a point of contact to focus upon, that is, we can't push on nothing that isn't there, real or not. Magic can be a tricky science if you aren't too careful. It wants us to stretch our minds out into a boundless void looking for a boundary that isn't there. We would all become lost and our astral forms would be projected into a magical labyrinth, never to return again. Our bodies would fall into a psychic coma forever. They know this, a tactic to take out me and my fellow comrades, the strong hand, leaving you defenseless. Demons are simple folk, like animals would postulate, take out the strongest threat in the pact, then devour the prey. I know this fact, darkness always understands the dark. Yes, and I believe that, my assistant says with apprehension, speaking out of turn. You said that this was an invasion. I may be new to this job, but not to the stories behind them. I am from Ozogara City. In fact, my family is one of the original old Tokyo Quarter clans, so I can remember tons of stories that my grandmother used to tell me about the days before the protection of the Unity Gates. Stories of when demons and the possessed would walk the land dominating the realm, that is, until the Almighty Divine One gave mercy, and sent down 7 divine tears. Tears that fell from the sky, from heaven to find their home in 7 locations, 7 cities to keep humanity safe. Even that damn forest can't come into our kingdom. Our skins, our bodies, our minds, we know that they need them to move through, and around the light so they can dominate us again. We have been chasing invading demons since before anyone in this room can remember. But lately, they have not been acting normal. I see the reports. I may be new, but I am not stupid. Please, I don't want to die. For once, not a lie, what is really going on? She is correct, says Kyla. We need to let them know what we are truly facing. They at least deserve that dignity. With all eyes upon me in the command room, aides, staff, the experienced, and unexperienced, General Clark then says, with a gilded smile. Well, I guess it's time to let everyone in on our little secret, considering what we hoped wouldn't happen, in fact, did happen, or better yet, happened. They're not going to like it, I answer back. If you think that you're scared now, this for surely will freeze your soul. What choice do we have, answers General Clark. We need all personnel working on a solution, no matter what the security grade. You and the members of your team are generals in the Red F. We need 3 of us to issue the order, but only 1 to start the sequence, and I am going to be that 1. We had no idea that it was this bad until we saw the data. I am authorizing full disclosure clause, Merlin's Black Knight. It doesn't take long for everyone in my team, including me, to comply. The situation has changed, and so have the orders. With a calm tone, and time still to plan before the invading enemy, I begin to speak. Secret reports within Red F Command tell us that the demons are learning to adapt to our defenses. And this is only the start of it. We now know why they need us, and why we are here. We are not dealing with shadow vamps, they are only the foot soldiers for something else. We have detected other signatures attached to those entities, and it doesn't match the psychic pattern for a demon we have on record. We are dealing with a demonic force of immense power and tactics. History hasn't seen their kind since the days of the Nightmares Gate. Our researchers discovered only bits of information about them in one of the Foundation scrolls. We only know their name, the Ravinox. Shivering from fright, my assistant begins to pray in silence. She knows what we are up against. I float towards her, and say, "You need to tell me everything that you know about these creatures. I want all of the old stories that your grandmother told you, especially the ones that gave you nightmares." "All of them gave me nightmares," she answers. "But the one you just spoke of is a special kind of horror. May the great divine save our souls, and let us die now. If you are too afraid to answer me directly, then you are faced with two choices. You can tell me, or I can take it from you when I probe your mind, but I need to know what they are." I calmly say, looking her straight in the eye. With fortitude, she gathers her strength, speaking with reservation, as she forcefully draws the words from her mouth. "I was only a girl when I found out about them, the Ravinox. You don't know, but they call themselves the Gates of Hell." "Well, I don't like the way that sounds," Timothy says, his voice heard behind me as my assistant continues to speak. "They never come as themselves, only in the end to reveal their true nature when it is too late, and the door is open. They are many to become one. They have countless names and faces, all evil, dedicated to one purpose, for they are the builders that bring the gates of hell, the ones sent by the Daath Masters who formed the Nightmares Gate. They have come again, to build, and this time, in our empire." "Sounds about correct," Sage sarcastically says. "If they are able to open that gate, nothing would be able to stop them. All of hell coming after us. We just don't have magic that powerful, not since the days of the tribe of Tefrith, and they have long since been gone. We need to do something," Kyla reiterates. "It will take too long for the morning to get here. We will all be possessed dead bodies if we don't find a way to keep our own in this battle." "What about the protection of the Unity Gates? Our esoteric shields are based upon their matrix. How are they bypassing the divine light? And if they can, what about each of us? None of us in the protected zones of the transport can afford to become one of those demonic drones. No one outside of this battle will know that the fight even happened. That's why we were ambushed, so that they could invade in secrecy. Tension has increased and the reason for it has become apparent. We are at the witness of a new age of darkness, for if our enemy can withstand the power of the Unity Gates, then we are condemned. But our problems are just starting. It only takes one of them to enter and control a body, anybody, and all hell would be let loose. Quickly, everyone is alerted around the safety zones of the transport to activate their personal esoteric shields. It will at least give them some time to find a safe spot until the morning is here, but the enemy knows that the light won't come in time. For I can feel the demons becoming eager. I know by the smell of death in the air. Then, without warning, sounds of turmoil are heard throughout the hallways. For the incubus of evil has arrived as the enemy forces their way into the interior. In confusion, people are seen rushing into the command center, the safest spot to hold up until the rising of the sun. But I find that no matter what we face, fear is never at my side, for this is not the first time that I have tasted the nature of evil, for darkness is akin to me, and I walk within its shadowy paths like a comfortable gown. We smile, the seven of us, while Bentley extends her wings, slowly making her way to the center of our circle. As we begin to spin, we start to enclose the command center in a barrier of light. People run inside, grabbing their weapons as they ready themselves for the coming of the shadow vamps. In the corridors, screams echo out the fall of the vamps' first victims, they who are now a part of the living dead. With haste, we continue to spin, our bodies moving with speed, causing items around the room to fall upon the floor. Mass confusion now lay in the wake of chaos, as the command room doors begin to close. Suddenly, the infected are seen rushing towards us, their bodies covered in black ooze, as they move across the floor, walls, and ceiling. They are near, rapidly progressing forward, disjointed and with hands in bent positions. They stretch out to grab, and eat, but then suddenly, they are stopped short, as the doors quickly shut. On the other side, safe within the command center, we witness a massacre on the monitors as more victims fall to its dark hand, their bodies covered in blackness, like a corpse rising from the grave. Attentions in the room move back and forth between our actions and those transpiring outside beyond the protected doors. All control is being lost as General Clark tries to take command of the situation. With slow precision, the demon skin covers every transport, causing power failures as red warning lights flood the control room, flashing in an almost hypnotic dance. "Remain calm everyone," General Clark bellows out, holding everyone in their place. "Check to make sure that all personal shields are activated. We have already lost a lot of good people as it is. Here we will make our stand until we can get power back, and activate the escape portals." The commands from General Clark are quickly relayed to the rest of the staff around the room, as he dashes over to our location, and yells, "I am going to need the coordinates of the bubble's edge real soon if we are going to survive this. You don't need to read my mind to know that." Hearts can be heard pulsating in the cabin as all becomes silent. The eve of a battle is at hand, and the night still rules the day. We need to repel the source of the dark energy, until we can find that boundary point, Dana yells, focusing his mind. I see the filaments of negative consciousness. They are trying to change the nature of the environment to their favor. But something is strange, the field isn't fluctuating. It's like it is everywhere. Something is different. Instead of a circling stream, with us as the center, it seems to bounce like ripples in a pond. They are tricky, I say, looking over at General Clark, giving him an order. We need to alter the polarity around the transport. The Ravinox are using their powers to alter the Shadow Vamps illusion. The Shadow Vamps aren't powering their bubble, we are. We may not have found the edge, but we have found a way to fight back, and to give us some time. Now, let's give them a taste of their own medicine. It doesn't take long for General Clark to know my intentions. Quickly, he presses several buttons on a control panel adjacent to him, causing the esoteric field outside to increase in its glow. As the field changes, so do we and my comrades as we ride our magic upon the waves of the event, pushing back the demons from the control room entrance. We had found ourselves in the eye of a demonic hurricane, the nature of evil slightly wounded, as their shadowy bodies slowly move about, trying to reconstitute. We discovered ourselves in a greater mishap than we had expected. The Shadow Vamps had learned the art of extending their illusion with the help of the Ravinox. It would take the demons about an hour to regain their form, but would we still have enough time to repair the power supply to use the escape portals? With the computers coming back online, communications were re-established, allowing several reports to come flooding into the command center. Sent from the other transports, the messages indicated that some survivors did remain, but they were trapped as we were. Our luck had seemed good enough to stop them, all of them, but only for a short time, allowing the survivors to take a rest and to regroup, but not for long, for in the hollow depths of terror, they knew that the demons would return. "Damn it, repeat the instructions to the others again," yells General Clark, hearing screams over the communication channel. "My divine, we are being eaten alive. Quickly, send the message to all transport commanders, and tell everyone to fall back into their control rooms, and to hold up." "Damn it, is the signal getting through?" "Yes, I think so, sir, "But I don't know who is receiving it," says one of the officers, trying to keep the channel open, the lights on his desk flickering. Another officer turns to the general and says, "Sir, I have sent the message out on a loop. It will broadcast on all channels to everyone in the area. We only have enough power for beacon transmissions, but I don't know who, and how many will get it, sir. We just don't have enough of a boost for a direct line." Those demons drained us right off the bat. They knew exactly what they were doing when they hit us. "Yes, they knew exactly," answers General Clark. "They wanted us to come into this neighborhood. It was a trap from the beginning. All they wanted was fresh bodies, and we are supplying them. Soon, they will have an army of shadow vamps ready to take over the city, then, the Empire. But we can't let that happen now, can we?" "No sir, I will keep trying. Maybe, if I rewire the console." While the general watches, I turn to look at him, but I already know his answer, and if we are both correct, then nothing can save us, for in the end, we are all doomed. City Kingdom Time, 5:53 TCMNT. Thames Crossing. Morning night time. Hail the morning time, hail it true. It brings forth the safety of Tefrith, in skies so blue. Hello, hello, come out of your homes. No need to hide in your esoteric domes. Let all say goodbye to the night, hail the coming salvation of the divine light. Royal Poem, Hail the Morning Time, Queen's Royal Announcement, Monthly Caravan to Ozogara City, Her Majesty, Queen Tasihir. We had always been warned to be prepared for anything, but no matter how much training, you can never be ready for the truth. We can be safe in one of the medic labs, Sage says, manifesting an esoteric shield around the 7 of them, Benderly constantly watching for an attack. We had underestimated our opponent, and had forgotten the original fight that an old enemy was so famous for. This was not an ordinary mission, for it had now turned into Hell's War. "We are looking at a full-blown spiritual incursion into our kingdom," says Kyla, as we entered the medical room, locking the large doors behind us. "I wonder how many people have been possessed." "We don't have time to think about that now," I immediately command them, as I think of options. "We need to get back to the command center if we are to regain some sort of control over this situation." "I agree with Gemma," Sarah says, demanding quick resolution. "Going back is the logical choice. Hold on. Damn. I think we may have company. I can feel movements in the consciousness near this location. And the patterns seem to be converging right towards us. Damn it, they have found us again, their demon eyes seem to be everywhere. All right, we need to move." Sage yells, extending his psychic barriers around the main entrance. "Besides, for the command center, this is the best place to remain safe and secure." "You mean until they bust through to turn us into half-dead possessed demons," answers Dana, intently looking about the room. "I really hope that your plan works," says Kyla. "We shouldn't have left them back at the command center. How long do you think that protection barrier we created will keep them safe? We aren't dealing with normal demons here." The general thought that we were crazy at first, but even he could see that we had no choice. "I can't believe this is how we are going to test this thing. What other choice do we have?" Tanner says, his nerves tense. "My father spent hours talking to the Queen about starting this project up again. She had asked him personally, and now the rest of you will see why. This immense complex that hovers above the ground, transporting our teams from one investigation to the next, is the legacy of my royal lineage. My father died with honor creating these transports for the Red Death. But he also added some modifications. One, when activated, will turn the tide of this battle to our favor, but we must find it first, or die trying." Suddenly, from the entrance, 2 dark figures move in the shadows near the windows, their eyes looking for others to consume and destroy. They are the poor souls of 2 crew members that have been absorbed by the group mind of the Shadow Vamp Legion. Their existence is now an empty shell that roams the passageways of this vehicle, looking for its next victim to infect. Well, if you don't hurry up and find that marvelous secret device of your father's, we are going to be your father's next legacy, and his dead son will be included, I say sarcastically, my darker wit getting the best. Now, that is an incentive to consider, Tanner answering with a sharp grimace. But my father's legacy shall not be my grave, and neither shall it be yours, it shall be our salvation instead. But before he can even finish the words, a large crash is heard at the door, as the hinges almost come undone. That won't hold them for long, Sage replies, grunting in pain from the stress of his mind holding the entrance shut. Then, let's make with our haste, and quickly depart, says Tanner, making his psychic link with the computer network. Good, I am in. Sage, I am going to need you to guide me. With one of them linked, the other 6 concentrate on Tanner, piggybacking on his telepathy. He had told us that his royal family had been designing devices for the Empire since Queen Malda Hafady made her royal decree, and created the Red F. The history of my royal blood is tied to this organization, Tanner says as he continues to scan the data banks. Especially this little device, if I can get it to work, not only will it save all of our lives, but my family will rise in their royal status, that is, if I can only activate it with this damaged computer system. Damn it, it is a real mess in here, the circuits seem to be infected as well. The entrance buckles under the stress, as eyes of black death glare through. With might, they continue to push down the door, trying to force their way into the room. They are the possessed remnants of the crew, now the living slaves of their dark lords who have taken control of their bodies. The link turns them into empty soulless creatures, lending their will to destruction. Our plan was simple and direct, restore partial power to the transport, allowing the others in the command room to escape through the emergency portals, warning the rest of the Red F squads of the demonic invasion. We had hoped that reinforcements would arrive to reactivate the city's divine shields in this location. Our forces, unbeknownst, had been tricked into entering a Reaper zone. A randomly generated location within the city's 3rd-tier outskirts that has had its esoteric shields reduced to the point that it is now like the graveyard. We had foolishly drove into an ambush created by the vampires to lull our Imperial troops into an area where we would be surrounded with no protection. To our dismay, the truth had been revealed all too late. For we soon learned that the outskirts was developing holes like Swiss cheese, allowing sections of a city to become tainted with the festering stench of sin and death. Eventually, we had learned that the evil bastards had taken possession of the neighborhood a week before they even decided to have their living dead call us. Even our investigation teams that had been stationed here a week ago, tried to give warning, but to no avail, they too became victims of the shadow vamps. For without the protection of the esoteric shields generated by the Unity Gates, we might as well be in the Veiled Forest. Our only hope was to activate a new device developed by one of Tanner's relatives, a Dr. Nola and Jackie Rapier, but never was able to be properly introduced into the Red F, until now. Look, we have to hurry, the infected have found us, I announced to my comrades, motioning to Tanner to hurry up the process. We have to hold that door with our minds, and hope that these new shields will do the job of holding those demons at bay. If that door doesn't. Just a little longer, I am close, answers Tanner, as he continues to scan the computer network psychically. Fear is a strange emotion, always silent in the background, waiting for the moment to re-emerge. I don't think we are going to be able to keep that door shut, Kyla says as she continues to reinforce the psychic barrier around the small medical room. The 2 entrance doors buckle as the weight of the living dead push on its outer edge. The sounds of their voices are heard throughout the air as the rest of my team shrills at the horror of the grotesque essence that hungers for its next victim. There are too many of them, and the Ravenox have reinforced their strength too much. We don't have anything to stop them, this may be it. But before the words can be uttered, there comes a large crash as shadowy hands are seen piercing through the metallic surface of the walls and entrance doors. They are here, their eyes looking at their prey like a savage beast, ready to dine upon the souls of the innocent. So many people are dead, and it still wants us, yells Sarah. Leave the best for last, I answer in anger. It can taste our psychic energy, and it wants to feed well upon us. Well, better to die in a fight, than consumed as food. As we stood there, before the great demonic entity, it gathers into a large black form, evil revealing its true nature. The disgusting bile of their masters, the Ravenox, now seen before our eyes, as its fangs and red eyes look down upon us like a wave of death about to make its strike. Then in a deep voice, it speaks. Your souls, we eat. Your lives, we consume. Your future, we become. We are legion. We are the gate unto your world. Now welcome, your new god. Gradually, moving towards us, we ready ourselves for the final onslaught. Then, without warning, like the burning bush on the mountain top, salvation comes forth, bellowing these words. And the Divine One said, Let there be light. And so there was. Throughout the room, in an iridescence of extreme brightness, beams of immense purity come racing from every corner in victory. It doesn't take long to see that Tanner has found the legacy left behind by his ancestor. An experimental device that bends the divine light of the Unity Gates back upon itself. This is done by using the residual energy in the area to boost the strength of the esoteric field. It will be as if the energy from the gate itself has been reactivated. It is more of a reflector of the divine force than a generator, but because it uses a shield to hold the reflected energy, matching it with its own, it is labeled as a generating inducer, better yet, a multiteric shield inducer. It had been a new type of esoteric defense incorporated into the transports, a dark project hidden in the Red F. Left as a secret, the research would only spread panic throughout the Empire. For it would reveal to all, the declining power of the city's shields that guards us against the veiled forest. Dr. Nola and Jackie Rapier had discovered that the outskirts, and still further into the city limits, was developing weakening points in the shields of the Unity Gates for unknown reasons. Tanner's dad knew of the danger as well as his ancestor did. It had become what we had feared in every nightmare of the kingdom. Our protection from the evil was vanishing before our eyes, and we had no way of stopping it, but our only advantage was that we could extend the time before a complete failure. The Rapiers left us with a chance to regenerate the shields found in a Reaper zone, as they had stated in their research journals, a place where the divine shields of the Unity Gates had failed, but now we had a fighting chance. Burn you evil demonic bastards. Tanner's last words don't do justice, when it comes to seeing the miracle of our vindication as the vampires resume a human form. Quickly, they begin to break up into separate entities, each trying to escape on its own, abandoning the other in fear. Some are able to run back into the graveyard, but many are captured in the divine light as they are set on fire, burning to the ground. The enemy had been stopped, but we had paid a heavy cost. Many had died, a lot of them close friends. Good times now gone forever, like our innocence. We had never considered that our primary protection was gradually becoming weaker, and in time, the threats of the veiled forest would eventually invade all cities within the kingdom. There would be no sanctuary, slowly humanity would become consumed by evil, the grim irony of our nature, and defeat. End Royal Red F. Read our report. To Her Majesty, Queen of our Seven-City Imperium. Gemma Antonia Clark, Red Imperium Master. Prime Field Commanding Officer. Royal Esoteric Defense Force, Red Death.
So concludes our journey into the 7 cities. But try and never forget that the night is always waiting. Doors will open.